Tonight, elevators vandalized at 10 TTC stations across the city.
It's really put a barrier in place for people with disabilities.
The act of vandalism leaving numerous stations inaccessible to those with mobility challenges for the rest of the holiday season. Plus,
it's been a kind of a roller coaster ride. It's been on and off.
Days after reintroducing capacity restrictions for businesses, the province announcing today new relief programs to help those impacted. And
there's 10 of us. Yeah, we're in the process of trying to fix the basement to get everybody in there.
5 months after a devastating tornado swept through Barrie, dozens of families are still trying to rebuild their homes and their lives. We check in with one of them ahead of the holidays. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. The TTC is investigating after elevators at 10 of its stations were vandalized last night. Now, that means the elevators will be out of commission over the holidays, with some of the stations inaccessible to those who use wheelchairs or other mobility devices. Dale Manukduk has more.
Repairs are underway for 10 TTC elevators, which means people in wheelchairs or strollers will have to find alternative solutions.
To have 10 of them go down in the course of one afternoon is highly unusual and incredibly inconvenient to our customers. So we absolutely understand the frustration people are going to feel.
The TTC believes one person used a hammer to vandalize the elevators. The transit service was made aware of the damage yesterday evening and has video of the offender.
That sucks. I actually have a brother who is disabled, and those elevators really help for people who are, not as able to move around places, especially in Toronto, not the most accessible city.
There's no accessibility, so how are they going to get around? Makes no sense. Why someone would be that belligerent.
On Line 1, Davisville southbound platform is inaccessible by elevator. Queen completely inaccessible. On Line 2, Jane, Keele, Spadina, Broadview, Chester, and Pape are all either partially or completely inaccessible by elevator. And Bayview's northeast entrance is also down.
My company is mostly focused on providing assessments on accessibility.
Chris Stigas is the president of Handy Help and also uses a wheelchair.
It's really put a barrier in place for people with disabilities for their independence and their quality of life.
Repairs are expected to take between 2 and 4 weeks as the TTC waits for specialty replacement parts. In the meantime, it will do its best to accommodate those in need.
It may mean if you're using Wheel-Trans, instead of going to, say, Broadview Station, for example, you may go to a different station depending on if you're going east or west.
But for many, time is precious, especially during the holiday season.
It takes away from time with my family. It means I might not get to my doctor's appointment, my vaccination appointment on time, and it impacts so many things.
The TTC says the vandalism, which includes some of the busier stations, will be treated as a criminal matter, and once their investigation is over, they'll work with the Toronto Police Service. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
A stabbing near Yonge and Dundas tonight has left a man in life-threatening condition. Police were called to the intersection at around 5:40 tonight. They located the man with a stab wound and he was rushed to hospital. Police say the assault happened at Yonge and Gould and the victim walked to Yonge and Dundas. No suspect information has been released. Almost a week after the province brought back capacity restrictions for businesses, it is announcing new financial aid to help them cope. The Ford government today promising 2 new financial relief programs. But as Chris Glover reports, there's concerns about when the money will be made available.
Indoor dining at New Gâteau Patisserie in Queen West is currently off the table due to crippling pandemic health restrictions. Now it's online and takeout only.
It was very, I would say, horrific to know what's going on, not just for us, but even for all our employees.
Part of the owner's horror show has been navigating the province's small business grant program, financial relief that took months to come through.
It has been a little bit confusing with all the guidelines and I would say all the criteria for qualifying for such grants.
Today, the Ford government announced a rebate program. Businesses will get back 50% of their property tax and energy costs. Pharmacies, big box stores, and major grocers will not be eligible. But unlike the grant program, there will be no further eligibility requirements. Any business subject to provincial capacity limits will be approved. So how can businesses trust that they're actually going to get this money in a prompt fashion.
Obviously, we learned a lot through the various programs that we've delivered. And so we'll be setting up the program in a way that can be administered as efficiently and as effectively as possible.
Not knowing that I had any financial support from the government was a bit like jumping out of a plane without a parachute.
The owner of the East End restaurant, Shay New, says it was terrifying when the latest round of public health restrictions came with no support. Even now, she's apprehensive.
I have to go back and read the fine print because it definitely doesn't sound like it's going to be the sort of savior that we might have hoped for.
The government also announced for the first 6 months of 2022, Ontario businesses can delay paying most provincial taxes like alcohol, fuel, and gas taxes. The Ontario Chamber of Commerce says that helps with cash flow, but doesn't solve any real problems.
Because being allowed more time to pay back these taxes doesn't make up for the fact that if you're a restaurant, you've lost your Christmas parties, you've lost your New Year's Eve party. You don't get that back.
The rebate payments will be retroactive to December 19th, but businesses can't start applying until mid-January.
Many businesses may not even be open by the time this rebate program is made available to them in mid-January. So the sense of urgency has totally been missed by Doug Ford.
While the owner at New Gâteau has been left with a sour taste in his mouth before.
We are hopeful, but at this point, I really don't know where we are headed and what the future holds for us.
He says he's trying to be optimistic. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
Ontario hospital staff exposed to someone with COVID-19 can still go to work if they continue to test negative for the virus daily. Now, that's according to a new government policy designed to safeguard staffing levels as cases surge. A spokesperson for the health minister said hospital workers who have been in contact with a positive case must take a PCR test as soon as possible and repeat the test on day 7. They must also take rapid antigen tests daily for 10 days and can only come into work if they remain asymptomatic and if all tests come back negative. Hospitals in Peel region were overburdened with COVID patients during previous waves of the pandemic. Currently, though, case counts are manageable despite the rise of the highly transmissible Omicron variant. As Ali Chiasson reports, the region's health authorities are crediting vaccine uptake.
I'd been here since 5:30, but we got the heat on. We brought some snacks.
This Brampton parking lot was packed, not with people doing last-minute shopping.
Getting the booster, good to go.
The GoVax mobile vaccination site was set up to give 250 people their shots, and you had to get there early. Hundreds of people in their cars, some on foot, had to be turned away. It made for a chaotic situation at times.
So your time slot is 10 a.m.?
I've been here since 7:30 on foot, waiting at Westway. Please, can I have a ticket?
Ma'am, I'm sorry, I have to go.
I know.
Order.
I don't
I've been
care.
here since yesterday.
If they're all booked.
People here since 5:30 a.m.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I'm going
that's
as
fine.
fast as I can.
Why wasn't she hitting you the tickets when they came in?
Why is there no structure? There is no structure.
There's a few people getting a little bit rowdy, but that's what happens when you come late, right?
People weren't just here to get their boosters.
First dose? Okay, here you go.
A few were getting their first dose. The rapid transmission of Omicron may have been a convincing factor.
We're particularly concerned about people who are unvaccinated because there are so many chains of transmission now that are out there that there's an increasing possibility that we may have someone who hasn't yet had their 2 vaccines and they may now be at a greater risk of contracting COVID and then at a greater risk of having severe outcomes.
Take, for example, the third wave, when Brampton Civic Hospital staff were fighting to keep 200 COVID patients alive. The highest number of COVID patients at any one time out of all of the hospitals in Ontario. Compare that to now.
At Brampton Civic, we only have 7 patients at this time, 3 of which are in the ICU. So while things may be higher than what they've been in the past few weeks, it's certainly not as bad as it was through the previous waves. And this is where our vaccination drive has really helped us.
Peel Region's health authorities say we're in a much different place than this time last year.
I got my ticket and I'm going in for my booster shot.
Having an 89% full vaccination rate and counting is a big reason why. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Brampton.
For the third day, hundreds of people descended on Union Station this morning, trying to get their hands on rapid tests.
1,000 tests, 1,000 people pretty quickly before we ever even begin to give them out. It's as busy as it was the last 2 days, and this is our last day here at Union Station to give out the tests.
Lines were long and spread throughout the building. Many who waited hours managed to get their free testing kit before the holidays, but not everyone was so lucky.
Well, I'm from Lindsay, Ontario, and we didn't have any areas in our riding that were having kits available. I was in line here by 5 o'clock.
It's just good knowing that I'll go to my dad's place and I won't have to worry for Christmas.
This is my third day in a row. If you fill out a census form, the government should be sending you out a kit.
All the tests were handed out within 30 minutes. Metrolink says they will no longer be handing out kits at Union Station because of crowding concerns. Meteorologist Nick Cernkovich joins us now with a first look at the forecast. And Nick, definitely a bit colder today and with a few flurries, a pretty typical winter day.
Not too bad, Kelda, but we are seeing some more winter-like weather heading into the overnight period. In fact, tonight is going to be the coldest night of the week as temperatures dip down close to the minus double digits. Here's a look at our daytime highs. But mind you, these daytime highs came last night, so the temperatures sort of fell pretty much through the day, and then they held steady just below the 0 mark for most of the day. Snow squalls still in play as we move through the evening hours. They'll begin to taper off. Tomorrow morning, maybe a hint of sunshine in there, but for the most part, it's going to be cloudy. And then we've got another system approaching the GTA, this one for supper hour, lasting through Thursday night into Friday, and that's going to bring with it a little bit of snowfall, in fact, accumulating snow for the city. For the next 24 hours, minus 9 degrees tonight with a wind chill, though. It'll feel like minus 14. Tomorrow, high of minus 1, increase in cloud cover, and that evening snowfall. I'll tell you how much to expect and if it'll stick around for Christmas coming up in just a bit.
Thanks, Nick. COVID cases among the Toronto Raptors have forced a postponement of tonight's game against the Chicago Bulls after Toronto couldn't field enough players. At least 8 Raptors are now in the NBA's health and safety protocols. This is the third time Toronto has had to reschedule a game this season. The league has scrapped 9 games in total in the past 2 weeks due to COVID. But so far, the NBA hasn't given any indication of halting play. The city of Barrie is still recovering from a devastating tornado in the summer. Upwards of 300 buildings were damaged and many residents displaced. 5 months later, dozens of families are still trying to rebuild their homes and their lives. Dale Mnukduk went back to the scene to speak with some of those affected.
Guys, take cover, tornado, holy!
These moments caught on video of an EF2 tornado ripping through Barrie's West End in July. Winds hit nearly 215 kilometers per hour, taking the roofs off of several homes. Hundreds more were damaged, including the Barancas, a family of 10 still waiting for repairs to finish on their home. Insurance is covering a rental for now.
For a family our size to stay there, to live there, to make a life, it's not ideal. I mean, there's not really much for us to do around there.
Most days they pile into 2 cars to get to the 3 different schools the children attend. Transportation has driven up their cost of living, and so has food. Unlike their own home, the rental only has 1 fridge.
Family just wants their home. They don't want anything else. Not trying to scam the insurance company. We don't want anything extra. Fix whatever was damaged, and then let's move on with that.
The whole neighborhood will take time to move on. The area most severely impacted by the tornado is an ongoing construction site. Many homes are still wrapped and boarded up, various contractors working throughout the day. The mayor says 40 houses remain uninhabitable, but more than 40 families still haven't returned to their homes.
Under the building code, it's technically habitable. It's winter. You don't want to live in a home without windows or a roof, especially if you're trying to, take the kids to school, raise a family, have Christmas, all those things that families do.
Family, it's what keeps Mike Baranka going. And while Christmas won't be in their own home like last year, they'll still be together.
It started to rain, then the winds just started to pick up.
It's something that Danny Mello gets to do with his family too. He was trapped in an excavator as the tornado moved through a construction site. All he could think about was his son. He feels lucky to be alive.
It was going a million miles an hour, and then my back window shattered on me. A piece of plywood just went through the machine.
The Insurance Bureau of Canada says the overall damage is in the $100 million range. The City of Barrie is waiving all building permit fees for those affected by the tornado and applying tax credits for homes still unsafe to enter.
If you haven't reached out for help, even now, 6 months later, please do, because there are people to help you.
Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Barrie.
Welcome back. Scientists are preparing to launch the successor to the Hubble telescope this weekend. The James Webb Space Telescope isn't just an upgrade to the aging Hubble, it's being billed as the most complex space science observatory ever built. And it wouldn't have been possible without key contributions from Canada. Jessica Ng explains.
The James Webb Space Telescope will give unparalleled views and insight into how the universe began. It is 100 times more powerful than its predecessor, Hubble.
And liftoff of the Space Shuttle Discovery with the Hubble Space Telescope.
Planning for the new project began just 6 years after the Hubble liftoff.
I work as part of the instrument team that built one of the 4 instruments on James Webb. And that instrument is called NIRIS. That's the Near Infrared Imaging and Slitless Spectrograph.
Adam Muzzin has worked on the James Webb Telescope for 3 of the 26 years it's been in production. The instrument he's describing is optimized to see in infrared, a huge improvement over Hubble's use of ultraviolet and near infrared. But it's not just a matter of sending the telescope into space and looking at photos it sends back.
When you get the images back, they're a mess. It's the way it works. You have to do something called data reduction. You have to really turn them from the raw data that comes off the telescope into the images.
Because the telescope is being sent into space in a rocket, it also needs time to unfold.
We had to make it much lighter. We had to make mirrors that were segmented so it could unfold and align in space. And we have to cool the whole thing. And the way it's cooled is, we call it passively, which means we just radiate heat out to deep space.
The telescope will orbit the Earth to protect it from the sun's heat. The first image will come back in just over a month, with observable data and images halfway through 2022.
Webb will be able to see the formation of the galaxies soon after the Big Bang. It's also going to be able to image and analyze the atmosphere of exoplanets, looking for those telltale signs of life.
Canadians have also contributed a fine guidance sensor, which allows the telescope to point and focus on certain objects. In total, the Canadian contribution is pegged at $170 million, with $30 million more over the next 5 to 10 years for observation.
For 5% of the time, Canadian astronomers will decide where the telescope gets pointed and will be getting that data.
For Canadians part of the project, like Muzzin,
this is a piece of history.
We have uncovered wonders undreamt by our ancestors.
After several weather-related delays, the telescope launch is set for 7:20 a.m. on Christmas Day. Jessica Ng, CBC News, Toronto.
A live look at the Toronto skyline tonight. Partly cloudy with some flurries overnight, and it's getting colder by the hour. Currently -2, but feeling like -9 with that wind chill. Let's go back to Nick now with a look at your extended forecast. And Nick, we're in for a cold one and some snowfall on the way as well with this next system.
Yeah, temperatures are dropping tonight, Kelda, close to the minus double digits. In fact, minus double digits in some areas around the GTA. And we've got snowfall on the way as well. Here's a look at your weather headlines then. It will be the coldest night of the week. Snow squalls still in play to the north and snowfall for the GTA come Thursday night. Now, here's how it all plays out. Snow squalls will slowly begin to dissipate through the overnight as the winds begin to lighten up and sort of shift. Perhaps a hint of sunshine in the morning, but basically clouds over. It's cloudy for the better part of the day, and then we've got another system that's going to move through. So these aren't snow squalls, this is system snow. It's going to move through around the supper hour, likely closer to about 7, 8 p.m. tomorrow, although a few flurries before that, not out of the question. For the most part, it lasts at least the better part of the overnight period. By Friday morning, it clears out, and we've got snowfall on the ground for Friday morning. But look at this, by Friday evening, rain showers move in. So we go from cold weather, the coldest night of the week tonight, to some of the warmest weather by the time we hit Christmas Day. We've got rain showers on the way for Friday, and those basically last into Saturday as well. Now, how much snow can you expect with this next system? about 5 centimeters. So I'm going to say, generally speaking, 2 to 5 centimeters of snow for the city of Toronto. But it's not going to last very long because the temperatures will warm up above the 0 mark on Friday. Most of it will melt. Wind-wise, we're seeing the winds lighten up as well for tomorrow, and so that's going to balance off some of the wind chills there by tomorrow afternoon, looking at wind chills of about -5. For tonight in southwestern Ontario, temperatures -7 to -10. Wind chills as low as about -16. Tomorrow, highs around the 0 mark. We'll see some light snowfall switching over to rain showers as we head through the later part of the day tomorrow. Certainly in areas like Windsor, where we've got temperatures just above the 0 mark. For the GTA, -9, -10, wind chills of -14. Tomorrow, highs just below the 0 mark at about -1, wind chills about -5. And then your long-range forecast looks like this. 2 degrees on Christmas Eve. We're seeing that switch over in terms of the rain showers. We're actually looking at rain showers on Saturday for Christmas Day. And believe it or not, a high of +5. Kelda.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, Nick. Finally tonight, a remarkable fossil find in southern China is showing us how a baby dinosaur looked inside a prehistoric egg.
This is one of the best preserved dinosaur embryos ever found and reported in Science. Because it is so well preserved, we can observe its posture very clearly, which allows us to compare it with other dinosaurs as well as modern birds.
This animation was reconstructed following the discovery of a fossil that's more than 66 million years old. It's the embryo of a toothless theropod dinosaur, too young to hatch, but now essentially frozen in time. This tucking position was previously thought to be unique to birds before they hatch. Scientists say this fossil shows the behavior may have existed even in non-bird dinosaurs. This baby dino measures about 27 centimeters from its beak to the tip of its tail. It was found curled up inside an egg about 17 centimeters long. Pretty cool. And that's our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Dwight Drummond has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6, and I will see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Have a great night, everyone.